It's been a whole year since the last time we saw her. When I say her, I mean the Tooth Fairy. Even though she ruined my life, I still used to be able to say her name without having chills run straight through me, but not anymore. Not after what happened the last time. Her killing my friends was already bad enough, but then witnessing her murdering 2 of them in one night was just too much for me to handle. Now every time that I think about her, which is still quite often, I always start to get a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach. After Lewis and Marcus died and Anton's parents put him in the crazy hospital, things at school started to get even worse for us. The constant teasing and rumors that people were spreading, saying that we were cursed, got really out of hand. Not to mention that after Anton admitted that he was the one who hurt Marcus, my Aunt Pam realized that we were only trying to protect him, and she did apologize and thank us, but I think she still kind of holds some type of grudge against us because she never talked to us again after that. And when all of that happened, reporters came flooding to our town. We made headline news. Reports were saying that not only were children in our town spontaneously combusting, but also that the local kids were going around saying that the Tooth Fairy was the one who was responsible for all of their deaths. And then one kid took it a little too far. He went around trying to bust out some of the other kids' teeth, claiming that he was helping the Tooth Fairy. After dealing with all of that madness, my parents decided that it would probably be best if we got away from all of the chaos. So we packed up and moved an hour and a half away. Now we live in Richmond, Virginia. I think they thought that it would help me and Darius forget about what happened and move on with our lives, but it hasn't. I still think about my friends and what happened to them all of the time. Aaliyah moved out of our old neighborhood too, but her parents ended up moving to Williamsburg, which is like 50 minutes from where we live now, so we don't get to see her as often as we used to. We can't just hop on our bikes or walk to her house anymore whenever we need to talk, so we have to call, FaceTime, or text her. But since school just ended a few weeks ago and now it's summer vacation, Aaliyah is coming to stay with her grandmother for 2 whole weeks, and she only lives 20 minutes from us, so I'm really looking forward to seeing her. And even though Darius won't say it, I know that he is too. I can tell by the way that his face lights up every time another day passes by and the day that she'll be here gets closer. She's coming this Saturday, which is in 4 more days. Things have calmed down a bit since the night that Lewis and Marcus died. Nobody's lost any teeth, and there haven't been any accidents which have caused anybody's to be knocked out either, so I guess that's why the Tooth Fairy hasn't shown her ugly face in a while. I like to think that maybe she's moved on and found some new victims to terrorize, but I'm always scared, thinking about when's the next time that she'll return to finish us off. Because I know that she can find us, no matter where we go, and come for us whenever she's good and ready. And I'm especially worried now because 2 of my teeth are loose. They're the ones right beside my 2 front bottom teeth that already fell out and grew back in. They've been wiggly for almost a week now, so I know it's only a matter of time before they fall out. And I can't help but to think how convenient it is that this would happen right when the 3 of us are about to get back together. The only person I've told about my teeth being loose is Darius, and I made him promise not to tell Aaliyah about it because if she finds out, I don't think that she'll even come to see us. And I can't say that I'd blame her. If things were the other way around and I was the one who found out that her teeth were loose, I wouldn't want to come either, knowing that I may very well die while on vacation visiting my grandma. Because what kind of vacation would that be? Without even waiting for me to invite him in, Darius opens my bedroom door crack and pokes his head inside. Mom wanted me to tell you that dinner's ready. I'm not hungry, I tell him, not removing my eyes from the comic book that I'm holding, but I'm only pretending to read it. Malik, come on, you've got to eat something. She made your favorite, chicken and cheese empanadas. You don't have to eat the shells. You can just crack them open and eat the insides. The meat should be pretty soft. Stop trying to make me feel better. It's not gonna work. Alright, so what's your plan then? Are you just gonna starve yourself like Marcus tried to do? I finally lower the comic book and shrugging my shoulders I reply, That doesn't sound like such a bad idea. It was working fine for him until he listened to me when I told him the exact same thing that you're telling me right now. Fine, whatever. I'll just send Dad up here to come get you then. He's just about to close the door when he peeks his head back inside. Look, I know you're scared, but they're gonna fall out sooner or later. You can't stop it. Yeah, and you know what's gonna happen to me when they do. Come on, you don't know that for sure. She could be gone for good this time. It's been a whole year. Yeah, okay. Keep telling yourself that. But I know she's coming. He finally closes the door, and then a few minutes later my dad comes upstairs to get me. Darius said you're still not feeling well. I nod my head. Can I just have some soup for dinner? Sure, what kind do you want? Chicken noodle again? I think I'll have tomato tonight instead. So I follow him downstairs to the kitchen, take a seat at the dining room table, and wait for him to heat up my soup in the microwave. You're still not feeling good? Maybe I should call and make an appointment at the doctor tomorrow, Mom says. No, I'm fine. It's just a stomach ache, I assure her. Well, if you're not feeling any better by next week, then you're going to the doctor whether you like it or not. I sit there sadly, slurping my soup, watching everyone else scarf down the delicious dinner that my mom has prepared. After dinner, I go back up to my room, which is where I've been spending a lot of time these last few days, doing a bunch of thinking. Even though I'm dreading it, I think that I'm ready to take the Tooth Fairy down this time. I know it's only been a year, but I feel like I'm older and smarter than the last time that we had a run-in with her. The next few days go by pretty fast. I go to bed Friday night anticipating waking up on Saturday morning because I know that we're finally going to get to see Aaliyah. But that feeling changes rather quickly when I wake up and see dried blood on my pillowcase. I race out of my room and down the hallway to the bathroom. Once I'm inside, I slam the door behind me and apprehensively look in the mirror. There's a small amount of blood on my bottom lip and chin. I open my mouth and gasp in horror when I see that not only one, but both of my teeth that were loose are gone. Instantly, tears start to well up in my eyes. I angrily wipe them away, telling myself, "Stop being such a baby, Malik. You knew this was going to happen." I get a washcloth so that I can clean the blood from my face, and then once I've done that, I storm out of the bathroom and back down the hallway to my bedroom. Then I start tearing my bed apart, searching for my missing teeth. I find one of them tangled up in the sheets. It goes rolling across the floor when I shake them out. But I can't find the other one anywhere, which leads me to believe only one thing, that I must have swallowed it while I was sleeping. I open my bedroom door and shout for Darius to come here. He yells back from his room down the hall, "Alright, I'll be right there." It takes him a while to actually come. I remake my whole bed before he shows up standing in my doorway. "Yeah, what do you want?" "We have a problem," I answer, opening my mouth to show him. As soon as he sees, he steps inside and closes the door behind him. "Are you kidding me? When in the hell did that happen?" "Last night, I think. I just noticed they were missing when I woke up." But I'm not surprised. I had a feeling that this was going to happen. "What do you mean?" "Aaliyah's coming today, so we're all going to be together. She must have known." "Yeah, she's driving up to Richmond today, but she wasn't supposed to be coming to see us for another couple of days. And how could the Tooth Fairy have known that? Plus, it's not like she's the one that knocked out your teeth. They've been loose for a week now, so we knew that this was bound to happen. It's just a horrible coincidence that it happened today of all days." "Well, I guess I better call Aaliyah and tell her what happened." "No, maybe you should just wait until she gets here. That way she doesn't change her mind and tell her parents to turn around and take her back home." "Malik, she wouldn't do that, especially when she knows that we're gonna need her help." "Are you sure about that? Has she ever abandoned us before?" "No, but this time is different. It's been a whole year and there's only 3 of us to fight her now." Darius pulls his cell phone out of his pocket and is just about to call her, but then decides to text her instead. So he sends a text saying, "We have an emergency. Is there any way that you can come over today?" Seconds later, she replies, "Let me guess, you can't wait any longer to see my beautiful face," ending the message with a kissy face heart-eyed emoji. He answers, I'm serious. Malik lost 2 teeth last night. They fell out while he was sleeping. This time it takes her a little longer to text back. Finally she responds, okay, I'll figure something out. I'll call you once my parents drop me off at my grandma's house and leave. Hours go by before we hear back from Aaliyah, but then she finally calls and says that her grandma agreed to bring her over for a little while. I argue, a little while? But you need to spend the night if we all plan on taking her down together.
Malik, I'm sorry, but there's no way that my grandma will let me stay the night with 2 boys. I'm lucky she even said that she would bring me over there today. I literally had to beg her. And the only reason that she agreed is because I told her that I would give her a pedicure while I'm here visiting. And believe me when I tell you this, you do not want to see her feet. They are crusty and nasty, so you owe me big time. We'll just have to make the best of it. We'll get the supplies for the trap, and then make sure that it's all set up and ready for tonight while I'm there.
I interrupt. That old trap wasn't working. Don't worry about that. Me and Darius put something together a while ago, just in case something like this happened.
Okay, great. Well, I brought my PlayStation with me, and it's already all hooked up at my grandma's house, so as soon as I get back there, we can just communicate that way.
Alright, I guess we don't really have another choice, Darius says. We'll see you soon. We tell our parents that Aaliyah is on her way over, and then Darius and I both head back to our rooms to wait for her. About a half hour later, the doorbell rings. I go racing down the stairs just as Dad answers it. When I see Aaliyah, I rush over and give her a big hug. Then she introduces her grandma to everyone. Aren't you a cutie pie? She says, pinching my cheeks. I smile, and then she proceeds to point out my missing teeth. She stays for a few minutes talking to my mom and dad, and then says that she has to get going because she has some errands to run, and that she'll be back later this evening to pick Aaliyah up. As soon as she's gone, we all go upstairs to my room. Once Aaliyah sits down on my bed and Darius closes the door, I tell them, listen, I've been thinking and I've got an idea. Since the Tooth Fairy is most likely going to show up tonight, I don't know if we're going to be able to take her down or not, but I was thinking, since I only have 4 baby teeth left, and I don't want to take any chances of her ever coming back again after this, I need you guys to do me a favor. Aaliyah replies, I'm not really sure what you're asking, Malik. Darius butts in. I know exactly what he's asking, and you must be crazy if you think that we're going to be the ones to do it. Please, I need you guys to pull out the rest of my baby teeth. Like I said, I only have 4 left. It should be easy. They should pop right out. Aaliyah bursts out laughing. Your brother's right. You must be crazy. We can't just pull your teeth out. Why not? You knocked Frankie's out, I say, referring to when she hit him in the face with the basketball. As soon as the words leave my mouth and I see the look of hurt on her face, I instantly regret saying it. Malik, Darius says, nudging me pretty hard in the arm. I'm sorry. That came out all wrong. It's not what I meant. All I'm saying is that it's not as hard as it looks. Malik, I said no, so stop asking, Darius warns me. Fine, I guess I'll just have to do it myself then, I tell them as I start heading over to my closet to get my baby book. What are you doing? Aaliyah asks. Since I've always been so obsessed with the Tooth Fairy, I've been keeping track of all of the teeth I lost over the years. That's how I know that I only have 4 baby teeth left. My mom kept track of them for me when I was little, but when I became obsessed with the Tooth Fairy, I started doing it myself. I open the baby book to the page that I'm looking for, walk over and sit down next to Aaliyah on my bed and tell her, see, you just shade in each tooth that you lose, then you write down the date that it fell out over here. The ones that aren't shaded in yet are the ones that haven't fallen out. Please, Aaliyah, it'll be super quick. You can stand on one side with a pair of pliers, and then Darius can stand on the other. That way you can take out 2 teeth at once and we'll only have to do it twice. Malik, you do know that the dentist doesn't actually use pliers to pull your teeth right. They have special tools that they use, Darius says, trying to get me to change my mind. Okay, so we'll make do with what we've got. Like I said, I'll do this myself if I have to. Aaliyah sighs, then glances over at Darius, but he immediately looks away. Darius, as much as I don't want to do this, Malik is right, you know. Pulling the rest of his baby teeth means that there's less of a chance that she'll ever show up again after this. But if I'm gonna do this, I need your help. Finally, after 5 minutes of nothing but silence between the three of us, I breathe a huge sigh of relief when Darius reluctantly agrees to help Aaliyah do it. So we do some research online first to find out what supplies we're going to need. Then we head out to my dad's toolbox in the garage and get 2 pairs of pliers. But after seeing how dirty and grimy they look, Aaliyah tells me, I don't know, this doesn't seem very sanitary. I think we should clean them off first. Yeah, good idea. So we try to clean them off as best as we can, but after scrubbing them with rubbing alcohol, they still look pretty dirty. So then Darius suggests doing something that he saw in a movie once. We put them over the flame on the stove to try and sterilize them that way. After doing that, then we head to the bathroom next and take some gauze from the medicine cabinet. Darius also grabs a bottle of Advil, pops it open, and hands me 4 pills. Here, take these. Hopefully it'll help ease some of the pain. Thinking that he's still just trying to scare me and get me to change my mind, I snatch the pills from his hand and swallow them all in one gulp. Then we head back to my room to discuss where we're going to go to do this. We have a couple of places in mind, and just as we're getting ready to leave and head to one of them, Mom comes up to my room and tells us, It totally slipped my mind that your father has a doctor's appointment today, and he can't reschedule it because it took months to get this one. We have to leave in 10 minutes and we'll probably be gone at least an hour. You guys can either come with us or stay here. We'll stay home, I blurt out. Fine, but you are not allowed to leave this house while we're gone. That goes for all 3 of you. Is that understood? The 3 of us nod our heads in agreement, then wait for them to leave. Once they're gone, we immediately get started because we don't know how long it's going to actually take. I have to admit, I'm a little nervous, but being here in my own house makes it seem not as bad as if we would have had to do it somewhere else. So we get everything set up in the kitchen, then I crawl up onto the island and lie down with my head propped up on a pillow from the couch. Darius pulls out his phone, goes on YouTube, and types into the search bar how to pull a tooth at home. Then Aaliyah sits my baby book down on the island next to me so that they can have it as a reference to help them figure out which teeth they are going to be pulling. As I glance at it out of the corner of my eye, I think to myself that it looks kind of similar to the x-rays that the dentist takes. After skipping through a few videos, Darius decides on one and begins following along with it. First, it instructs us to clean any tools that we are planning on using, but we already did that. Well, at least to the best of our ability, so we move on to the next step. Aaliyah opens the box of gauze pads, takes a few of them out, and lies them nearby on the island. Then she also grabs a roll of paper towels from the counter, brings it over, and sits that next to me. Okay, are you ready? I nod my head. All right, open wide, Darius tells me as he picks up a pair of the pliers. As my heart speeds up, now racing a mile a minute, I open my mouth and Aaliyah and Darius look inside, and then they keep glancing back over at my baby book as they try to determine which teeth to pull. It can't be that hard. They're smaller than all the rest, I tell them, as drool slides down the corners of my mouth. Stop talking, Aaliyah tells me. So I open my mouth wide once again, but a nervous feeling washes over me as I start to think, what if they pull the wrong teeth? Then all of this will have been for nothing. That's when I leap up and suggest marking the teeth with a permanent marker. That way they'll know which ones to pull. Both Darius and Aaliyah agree that it's a good idea, so I grab one from a drawer in the kitchen, then head to the bathroom with my baby book. Then I carefully mark the 4 teeth, each with a good-sized dot, and then go back to the kitchen and once again climb up on top of the island and lie down. Okay, I'm ready now. Darius continues to watch the video, copying the way that the man is holding his pliers. Then he slowly lowers them into my mouth, and I can feel him adjusting them around one of my top teeth in the back. Once he's got a firm grip, he looks up at Aaliyah and says, Okay, now your turn. Then she proceeds to do the same thing he just did, except she positions her pliers around one of my back bottom teeth. Okay, ready. she tells Darius. Immediately I begin sweating bullets and close my eyes, bracing for the pain. Okay, ready on 3. 1, 2. Wait. I forgot to tell you, make sure not to grab the tooth too tight, because it says here in the comments that you could crack it, and then that would cause excruciating pain. So how tight should I grab it then? Aaliyah asks, sounding a little worried. I don't know, tight, but just not too tight. Thanks, that's really helpful, she says, her voice full of sarcasm. Then Darius starts counting down again. Okay, 1, 2, 3. I start to feel a lot of pressure, like they're both pulling as hard as they can. Then out of nowhere, on the left side of my face, I start to feel the most terrible pain I've ever felt in my entire life. It feels like they're trying to take my jaw off. I scream in agony and start to squirm around. I'm surprised by how easily the tooth on Aaliyah's side comes out. She holds it up in the air with a smile on her face. Got it, she tells me. But Darius has to do some more yanking. Once he finally manages to get the tooth on his side out, I instantly feel a jolt of pain shoot through my gums, and then blood fills my mouth. I sit up and begin coughing, causing tiny droplets to fly everywhere. Really? Come on, Malik. We don't have time to clean up a huge mess before Mom and Dad get back. As I start to choke on all of the blood, I rush over to the sink, lean over it, and spit out as much as I can. It won't stop bleeding, I tell them. Here, shove some of these in there, Aaliyah says, handing me some of the gauze pads. I rinse out my mouth a few times, then shove the gauze inside. Did it hurt? Aaliyah asks. What do you think? Come on, let's get this over with, I mumble, as I climb back up onto the island and lie down. Darius tells me, All right, we're halfway there, bro. You got this. I take a deep breath, then open my mouth wide once again. They each grip the pliers around the last 2 teeth that need to be pulled. Aaliyah has another one on the bottom, but towards the front this time, and Darius has the one right below the other he just pulled. Darius starts to count down again, and this time when he gets to 3, I scream so loud that I think the neighbors had to have heard me, as they both tug and yank as hard as they possibly can. Aaliyah ends up losing her grip and scrapes my gums with the pliers, causing them to instantly start burning because of the alcohol that we used to clean them. Then just as they begin bleeding, she apologizes. I'm so sorry, Malik. Here, let me try again. I almost got it. It's only hanging on by a thread. I pull away from her, but that's when Darius manages to pull my tooth on the other side out. He holds it up in the air like it's a trophy, and he's celebrating a victory. And that's when I really start to panic, because I see pieces of my gum still attached to the tooth. You did it wrong, I scream, attempting to leap up as blood leaks from my mouth and down my chin. But Aaliyah shoves me back down onto the island. Wait, I said I almost got it. Seconds later, she finally gets the last tooth out, and as relieved as I am, I'm also in a lot of pain. They stuff my mouth full of gauze, clean up the kitchen, and then I put some ice on my cheeks because my face is already starting to swell. I have to change the gauze every few minutes because I'm bleeding so badly and I can barely talk, but I manage to mumble. Now what am I supposed to tell Mom and Dad? I don't know. You should have thought about that before you asked us to do this. But you better figure something out because they're going to be home any minute. While we wait for my parents to return, Aaliyah gives her grandma a call and tells her that she's ready to be picked up. I think she wants to get out of here before my parents get back and all hell breaks loose. I don't blame her. Before she leaves, Darius and I pull out our new and improved trap that we built from the closet. After we moved here, we did some research on how to build different kinds of traps, and then we built this one ourselves in the hopes that it would help us catch the Tooth Fairy if she ever came after us again. So the new trap is one of my dad's old metal toolboxes that he doesn't use anymore, and we rigged it so that it can snap closed and trap the Tooth Fairy once she's inside. I figured that this would probably work out better than a pot, at least I'm hoping it does. Then we bought a bunch of oversized rubber bands and put them around the sides of it so that they'll force it to stay closed. And then I found a stick that I put in between the lid and the toolbox to keep it open. and then we tied a rope around it so that we can yank it out and then the lid will slam closed once she's flown inside. Then the plan is to run over there and fasten the 2 metal clamps on the front to lock it closed. That way she'll be trapped inside forever, and then we can toss it into the ocean or bury it. Either of those options are fine with me. We're right in the middle of setting it up in my room when my parents pull into the driveway. As soon as Aaliyah notices them, she pulls out her phone and calls her grandma again to ask where she is. She informs her that she'll be here in about 10 more minutes. A moment later, my mom shouts upstairs, "Malik, Darius, we're home. Come down, I brought pizza for dinner." Aaliyah looks over at me with a worried glance. "Don't worry, we'll take all the blame," Darius tells her. Then we hear my mom's footsteps coming up the stairs. She pokes her head into my room. "Didn't you guys hear me?" When she notices my face all swollen, she screams, "Oh my God, Malik, what in the hell happened?" "I lost some more teeth," I tell her with a slight lisp. She rushes over to me, grabs my face, and tells me to open my mouth and let her see. So I do, and she continues screaming, "What do you mean you lost some more teeth? Malik, it looks like they were pulled out. What were y'all doing while we were gone?" Just then, Aaliyah's grandma pulls into the driveway and beeps the horn. "Thank you so much for allowing me to come over today. I've gotta go now. I'll see you guys later," she tells my mom, then goes rushing out of the room. I don't know what to tell my parents besides the truth, but we leave Aaliyah out of it and say that she had nothing to do with it. She tried to stop us, but was helpless in the situation, so she just stood by and watched. Needless to say, they're pretty pissed off, mainly at Darius because they say that he's old enough to know better. I won't go into details and repeat everything that my parents said because it includes a lot of curse words, but basically they lose their shit, ground us both for 3 months, and tell us that they're going to start sending us to a psychiatrist because obviously everything that has happened is affecting us more than they thought it was. I think grounding us for 3 months is taking it a little far. And it really sucks because if we do make it through this night, then that means that we'll be grounded for the rest of summer vacation. But I guess on the bright side of things, at least we'll still be alive. After dinner, Mom sends us straight to our rooms and takes our phones away, so I have to finish setting up the trap by myself. Luckily, Darius already moved his PlayStation into my room earlier tonight before Mom and Dad got home. Around 9 p.m., I'm surprised when Dad comes to my room to check on me and says something that I was totally not expecting. "Your mother and I talked it over and decided that although you and your brother are still going to be punished for the next 3 months, you're still going to be allowed to do the things that you normally do while you're inside of the house, like watch TV and play video games. We don't want to ruin your whole summer. But no phones for the next 3 weeks, and also no leaving this house unless one of us is with you." I agreed to the terms. I mean, it's not like I have a choice anyway, and they're not really that bad considering what we did. Once he says goodnight and leaves, I turn on my TV and wait for Darius to sneak to my room. He doesn't show up until around 11 o'clock. "Sorry it took me so long, but Mom and Dad took forever to fall asleep. So how do you want to do this?" "I was thinking that maybe you should hide under my bed. That way if she shows up, she doesn't see you and she'll think that I'm alone, so we can catch her by surprise. Just in case she manages to sneak past this trap like she did with the other one." It takes some persuading to get him to agree to hide under my bed, but finally he does, and then we cut on the PlayStation so that we can contact Aaliyah. "Finally, I was worried to death that your parents took your game system away and that you wouldn't be able to contact me tonight." "So what happened after I left? Were they really mad?" Darius answers, "Mad isn't even the word. We're grounded for the rest of the summer." "Man, that sucks. Well, what did they say about me? They must hate me now." "No, we told them that you had nothing to do with what happened and that you tried to convince us not to do it, but that we wouldn't listen to you. The 3 of us don't talk very much after that, just a quick 'hey, are you still up?' every once in a while." A little after midnight, I start to get sleepy, and despite me trying my best to fight it, I begin to doze off. Darius must hear me start to snore because he calls my name a few times to get my attention. "Yeah, I'm up. It sure doesn't sound like it to me." "No, I am," I reply again. Hours go by and the tooth fairy doesn't show up. When I glance over at the clock and see that it's 5:30 in the morning, I start to think that maybe she's not coming. Maybe my brother was right and she's finally done with us. I slide out from beneath the covers and walk over to the window. It's still dark outside. "What are you doing?" Darius whispers as he peeks his head out from under the bed. "I'm just checking to make sure that the trap is set up right." "Of course it is. We already checked it a million times. Now get back in the bed before you set it off and wake up Mom and Dad." I stand there for a few more seconds, wondering why she hasn't come yet. I know she has to be coming, I tell myself. But when? Right as the thought crosses my mind, I hear my bedroom door crack open. "What was that?" I whisper. "What are you talking about?" "The door. Did you leave it open?" Darius glances over at it. "Holy shit. Nah, I'm pretty sure I closed it." Then he starts shimmying his way out from under the bed. My eyes frantically search every corner of the room, and when they just so happen to land on Darius, a look that I know all too well floods his face. He's staring at something behind me, and the petrified look on his face tells me that the tooth fairy is here. And then I hear the faint sound of her wings fluttering, causing my heart to skip a beat. And when I turn around, I have one hand covering my mouth, and with my other, I have a firm grip on the electric fly swatter that we came across in the garage when we found the toolbox, and I grabbed it, thinking that it would be the best weapon to use against her, thinking that if I zap her good enough, it will stun her for long enough so that we can throw her in the toolbox if we have to. I start waving it wildly through the air, but I just can't manage to catch her. "She's over there," Darius screams. I look at where he's pointing, but she's already gone. "No, over there." I turn and look in the opposite direction, but she's not there. "I said over there," Darius screams at me as he grabs his baseball bat and begins swinging it around the room. As the adrenaline pumps through me, I start to think how it feels like we've been in here fighting this thing for an eternity, but in all actuality, I know it's only been a couple of seconds. My brother's knocking over stuff, breaking it, not at all caring about how noisy he's being, and that our parents are asleep right down the hall. And then when I turn around, that's when I see her. And I'm just about to tell Darius that she's right behind him, but as soon as I move my hand away from my mouth, she comes flying toward me at full speed. So I hurry and put it back over my mouth, but she grabs a hold of it so tight and tries to pry it back off. She's digging into my skin with her long, sharp black nails. It feels like 2 needles are stabbing me, one on each side of my hand, sinking deeper and deeper into the bone. Her black and red eyes are staring straight into mine as she opens her mouth, revealing her sharp, jagged teeth, and then lets out this ear-piercing hiss. My heart is racing as I lift the fly swatter and attempt to smack her. But she flies away before I can, and I end up smacking myself in the face instead, giving myself a good zap. Then out of the corner of my eye, I catch a glimpse of a bright white light go zooming across my room. I see her pale skin and translucent wings shining in the darkness. They seem to have a slight shimmer to them, kind of like they're covered in silver glitter. I scream my brother's name. As he reaches down, pulls his backpack out from under my bed, and starts digging through it, he shouts, "This is the same thing that happened to Louis and Frankie. I'm not going to let it happen to you too, no matter what." I have no idea what he could possibly be looking for in there. I didn't even know that he brought his bag with him. That's when he pulls out a lighter and a can of our mom's hairspray. He lifts the can high in the air and begins spraying it in every direction. And with the lighter ignited in his other hand, he starts shooting flames, causing stuff to catch on fire as he runs around my room yelling, trying to catch the tooth fairy. My posters, sheets, blankets, everything are all in flames as I'm rushing around after him, trying my best to put them out. "Hey, watch it!" I shout when he aims the can in my direction. That's when I realize exactly what he's doing. He's forcing her over to the trap. He's singeing the tips of her wings off as she tries to flee and get away from us. As she goes flying toward the window, she lets out an agonizing screech like I've never heard before. and Darius tells me to get ready. So I grab the rope that triggers the trap that's lying next to my bed. Moments later, when she rams right into the open lid, I quickly pull the rope and the stick falls out onto the floor, then the lid snaps shut. Then both Darius and I pounce on top of it, and we each snap one of the locks closed. As we hear her banging around in there, trying to get out, we glance at each other with a look of relief on both of our faces. As I can tell, one final thought is running through both of our minds, that this is finally over. I can hear Aaliyah's frantic screams coming from the headset, and I can't imagine what she must be thinking right now as she hears all of this commotion. Just then, our parents come bursting into my room. My dad is holding a fire extinguisher, and that's when I realize that the fire alarm is going off. I'd been so focused on capturing the tooth fairy that I hadn't even heard it until now. He uses it to start putting out the big fires, and my mom grabs a pillow from my bed and starts putting out the smaller ones. Once they've put them all out, Dad sees the can of hairspray and lighter that Darius is holding, and he hands the fire extinguisher over to my mom and then approaches the two of us. Just as we stand up, he reaches out and snatches the hairspray and lighter from my brother. The look of anger on his face is one that I've never seen on him before. I'm actually kind of scared. Then he does something that I'd never expect. He punches Darius right in the face, and as he falls to the ground, Dad screams, "What in the hell is wrong with you, boy? Are you trying to burn the whole damn house down with all of us in it?" Not giving him a chance to respond, he continues, "See, this is exactly why you need to go see a therapist. You keep this up and you're going to end up right in the same place as that boy who tried to kill Lewis." Darius is still lying on the ground speechless. My mom is standing in the corner, now crying her eyes out, and after seeing how angry my dad is, I try to make the situation better by blurting out something that I should have kept to myself. Pointing over at the toolbox, I tell him, "Dad, we did it. We caught the tooth fairy. Now this is all finally over, and nothing bad like this will happen to us or our friends ever again." "What in the hell are you doing with my toolbox?" he questions, as he starts walking over to it, and he's just about to open it when Darius leaps up, blocks his way, and tells him, "You can punch me 1,000 more times if you want to, but whatever you do, don't open that box." Annoyed, Dad replies, "You two have got to stop acting so childish. How many times do I have to tell you that the tooth fairy isn't real? Now, after I open this box and prove it to you that there's no tooth fairy in here, maybe I should send the two of you to that same crazy hospital as that boy Anton. That's where you all belong." I start to run over there to stop him, but then my mom grabs a hold of me and is now holding me back. My dad pushes Darius out of the way so that he can open the toolbox, but when Darius tries to fight back, my dad grabs his arm, twists it behind his back, and pins him down to the ground with one hand while he starts to open the box with his other. You boys have really started to go crazy, but hopefully this will be a reality check for the two of you. We scream in horror as he unfastens the last lock and then lifts the lid. Seconds later, the tooth fairy comes flying out and looks right at me with that same evil grin as she holds 3 fingers up in the air. And then she glances from my mom to my dad and then slowly raises 2 more. My parents stand there, staring in denial and astonishment as she goes flying out the half-open window just as the sun starts to come up. Once she's gone, they sit there with their mouths hanging wide open, probably thinking about how we were trying to tell them the truth this whole time, realizing that the thing that we've been trying to catch that killed all of our friends, including our own cousin, we finally managed to catch it, and then they just let it loose because they didn't believe us. But none of that matters now, because I still have a sense of relief knowing that at least all of my baby teeth are gone. And from this moment on, I'll make sure to brush my teeth 10 times a day, floss, and go to the dentist every 6 months like I'm supposed to. Hell, I'll go every 3 months. I'll take such good care of my teeth that I'll never get another cavity and have to worry about any of them falling out. I'll do whatever it takes so that I'll never have to see the tooth fairy again. Don't forget to subscribe for new stories weekly. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.